Our next learning module is the MBSEL integration framework within our micro-credential program. This is another essential resource and what grounds everything of what we do as an organization. So within our module, there are really two objectives. One is for you to be able to read and understand the MBSEL integration framework. And then the second is for you to be able to share about the framework. So first, let's introduce it so you have a little bit of background, and then we're going to go exploring and do a bit of a walkthrough. So first, the MBSEL integration framework shows how all essential components and best practices work together to create a self-sustaining ecosystem. We purposely have it listed as an integration framework because we're integrating everything. And so often all of the practices and all of the content and area, like it seems like everything is on their own when really everything is really working together. So we wanted to make sure that we can show that here. And you'll also start to notice the theme of ecosystem. So next is that our framework takes a bit of a different approach. It doesn't look like your typical framework. And we like to really lean in on calling it really an evolving educational ecosystem. It's evolving because everything's always evolving, everything's changing, and it's adaptable. Next is an ecosystem has no one way or a prescribed path. There's no one curriculum, there's no one strategy, there's no one practice. It is really customizable to who that person is, who you are, who your students are, your staff are. All of this is really personal, but also a collective experience with it too. And so an ecosystem lets us arrive and access wherever we are able to arrive and access. And as I keep mentioning, it is flexible and adaptable. So on the next slide, I'm just going to show you the image of our framework, but a little bit more context in a moment. So this is the framework. Again, it looks very different than your typical framework. And it really brings in the ecosystem. It brings in, like, we're more than just a piece of paper with, check boxes. This is something that is really cultivating our way of being. And so the COSM leadership team really wanted to embody this even within the framework. So to be able to read and understand, as I shared, we'll do a little walkthrough. I'm going to mention here that you might notice that there are patterns of 4, which is to really help internalize and remember the different components. And since we just shared about the skill progression, the trees represent that here, which we will share. And also you'll notice in all of the modules, at the top of the module, each one is aligned to the components within the ecosystem. So you can start to see how this is embedded in all of what we do and all of what you do. So let's explore this for a moment. Let me see if I can make this a bit bigger here. There we go. So for the framework, you really can start anywhere, but for us in our time, we are going to start at the sun. The sun is the educator and leader embodiment. And it's the sun because the sun is naturally cultivating its own energy, and then it shines and radiates out from that extra. And as we embody skills, that allows us to be able to shine in our environments, in our ecosystem, those skills to help everything grow and thrive. In the sky, you'll also notice the raindrops. And the raindrops represent the practices that we do. Those are doing. And they are the well-being practices, culturally affirming and equitable practices, trauma supportive practices, and then explicit and embedded teaching practices. So all of those things that we do, eventually, as we do them, they also become a way of being. Then the rain falls and comes into all of the ecosystem, but really you can see that they are coming right into the center where the ripples are. And you can see within the ripples, the self, staff, students, and society. Self being bigger and in the middle, because it all starts with us. And all those practices are within that water that then are nurturing the root systems of the trees. And so as we move into the trees, we have the mindful self-connection, as we know from the skill progression, the mindful self-regulation, mindful decision-making, and mindful social connection. We're reading them in that direction, but also you can be at any one of those trees at any time. Now, also that water in the center is also a symbol that we reflect out, and also everything around us reflect back from the water. And in the back is the mountain that represents our presence, our being, our fully present in the moment. And even if you think about it, if you're on the mountain, you can be at any vantage point, becoming that observer and seeing and noticing anything within this ecosystem. And then all of that is wonderful, and that can stay within education. However, there are two more elements here that allow us to move even further. And you'll notice that there's that stream, and that stream is advocacy, meaning we have the choice to then take action and embody all of this and bring that into that mindful global citizen space, as you can see down, and that's the ocean in which that it flows into. So just taking a moment here, just noticing in general. I'm going to come back. And just so that we can really understand again, the skill progression is the what. All right, so that's how we're defining what it is that we're doing. The ecosystem itself is the how we get there. The drops are the practices that are the doing. So the what, the how, and the doing. But also that ecosystem becomes the being. And as I shared, there were 4 drops, there are 4 trees, there are 4 ripples, and really there are 4 core elements. So you have the sky, you have the trees, you have the mountain, and you have the water. So being able to share about this, right? And it might take some time and some practice, because again, it's a different way of being, a different way of teaching and leading, but really it's not. It's an embedded and embodied part of us. So maybe notice where you are personally drawn to start when you look at the ecosystem. And you have resources that is located in the next text-only module. So in the next module area, there are a whole lot of resources to help you integrate this, as well as some ideas here to integrate with your community. And also, there is a companion mindful practice that you also have access to, which is the second video in this module. And you might want to experience that, because that might be a way of how you introduce this to staff too in a unique way. So in the resources, you have a colored copy that you can download and print. There is the horizontal as well as a vertical option. You have a black and white master copy available as well. And also, you have a blank one, which might be great for a staff reflection activity or noticing like what can they internalize, or are there certain areas within the ecosystem? Maybe this is a mindful coloring experience with them so they can internalize all those components. You have access to, like I shared, there's a companion meditation practice. There's a script for that we're providing you if you wish to guide that, or maybe you let your staff listen to the audio recording of the practice. And then another resource we have are the mindfulness-based SEL educator and leader embodiment cards. So these also align. I'm just going to pull one out here. These also align with asking and offering support. They also align with our framework. So here, this is the skill progression. So which one it aligns with. There are 4 different colors of the cards, and each of those colors aligns with that skill area. There's a focus intention word. Then there's a practice, and this also can become like a script, so you can start becoming empowered with sharing, or maybe you have different leaders or your team. You can do this with students as well, but we want to make sure that you and the adults supporting your students are embodying these skills. Then all of them close with, I am a mindful global citizen, coming back to our why and our purpose that goes beyond the classroom. And then lastly, all the cards have an extended practice here of how can this support those ripples, the self, staff, student, society. So it becomes more than just a one-time practice. It becomes sustainable. So those are available to you as well if you're interested. So our practice here is the invitation to engage with that companion mindful practice that we have. And what that is it basically brings you into the ecosystem. And it becomes this multi-sensory experience. It's modeling the embodiment through the experience. And it is a unique way to learn. And it supports the learning memory that we have. So it might also, there's a couple different things. So one is maybe the whole staff might actually go outside to experience this to, again, further the ecosystem. And also making sure that you're cultivating a safe and brave experimenting environment, because this is a different kind of learning and being that is a different kind of operating system within us. And so staff may feel a little bit different with it. And so making sure that you have cultivated that environment for them to explore and try something new. And also the opportunity to pause if at any time it may not feel comfortable for them. We also share and model within that the script the different types of trauma supportive languaging also. So either way, it is a good resource. And also what you might want to do is listen to it and experience it first, just to experience it. But you might want to listen to it again and maybe like analyze it. What did you notice? What are some of the nuances within how it's shared or the language that's used? And then if you feel inspired, it would be amazing to hear your share about your experience and noticings in our MBSEL community. And our resources, you have, like I shared, you have the framework, the progression, the recording, and also the supporting resources are found within the next text-only module. So with that, everybody, thank you for taking the time to learn together today, and see you in the next module.